I think we're gonna jump right in. Let's do it. Well, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Jack. I lead finance and biz ops here at Adapt. I've worked in finance and accounting for about 10 years now, and I'm here with our CEO, Jim, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, hey everybody. Really appreciate you taking time this morning to join us. Jim Benton, co-founder, CEO here at Adapt. I've worked with many of you that I'm seeing here back in the days of co-founding ClearSlide, leading Apollo, and most recently before this was CEO of Chorus AI. And today we're gonna have a ton of fun. We went GA Friday at 9:04 p.m. You might have seen the LinkedIn post. Thanks for helping get the word out. Super fun. I mean, that is what this is all about. And I think what we're about to get into today could make this one of the most fun days you've ever had building, and we can do it within the next hour. So excited to jump in.
Awesome. So here's what we're going to cover today. In our view, there are two versions of AI in the market. We'll talk about what they are, what the difference is, and how you can make sure you're using the right kind for your role and that you're using the more advanced kind for your role. We'll walk through a framework of what it makes sense to build versus what it makes sense to buy from our perspective. How to make AI work for your team and your organization, really using it as a multiplayer tool versus the single player AI that a lot of us have seen in the past. And we will talk about kind of the UX layer you can build on top of your data, and we'll go through a live build. We'll show kind of some of the tools that we've built here at Adapt on our internal data. And so with that, I'll pass it over to you, Jim.
Love it. So just a little bit of background before we get into the demos. We will spend a lot of time demoing today. From my experience, after Chorus AI, I spent the last couple of years down at Stanford at StartX, which is their startup accelerator, and just seeing incredible teams using AI. I personally got back into building, and I noticed about just over a year ago, I got put into Cursor. Some of you have used Cursor or Quad Code, different code editing tools. And my mind was blown. I was up till 3 to 4 a.m. every single night, just being like, this is too easy. This is Legos for adults. And most importantly, what I found was that this is unfair. There's two AIs. I had no idea that the developers, and some of you on this call are powerful developers, you know this, had a totally different AI. They had an AI that had the complete context of your code. It did all the work for you, and anything you could imagine, you could essentially build almost immediately. It was just insane. But then I would go and be with friends and social network, and they were still in more of a chatbot. They were a ChatGPT world where their AI was about putting an email or getting summarization or doing research, magical in its own way, but such a different experience than those that were building. And we realized right there, we have to bring the building to everybody else. And so we'll talk about that today, and really just enabling everybody in the organization, not just the developers, to build incredible new UXs, new tools on top of your existing stack, the Stripes and the HubSpots and the Linears, and just new ways to work. Second part of this is thinking about build versus buy. So one of the observations, we spend a lot of time with CEOs, AI transformation teams, and there's one of the themes that we've seen. We put a blog post about this called Field Notes a few weeks ago, is a lot of teams are talking about putting together a single AI system for their company. One layer that would connect to every single tool, have the complete context of the company, and enable everybody to essentially have access to that tool to work faster, to accelerate. And so the decision people are making is, do you build this? Do you have a few engineers try to do that? Some of the most advanced teams are trying that. You saw Ramp talk about their Project Glass. Block has talked about Goose. So these are some of the teams that are trying to put engineers, and they're doing some interesting things internally. And then you have the majority of teams looking for what would be that system that we could use that would enable us to do this and to do it very effectively. And I think that one of the aspects that we'll see here over time is if your own team is thinking about this, is I do think this will remind us of Salesforce. For those of us that saw the Salesforce era, a lot of teams built their own CRM early on. And some built better ones that were called homegrown. Others were quick to move to Salesforce. But over time, just about everybody or a majority moved to Salesforce because the teams knew Salesforce. They expected it when they joined a new company. And I think we're going to see a similar evolution in AI, where you see a little bit of homegrown, and eventually it starts to move to people you hire saying, wait, where's that system? We ran our last company on Adapt or a different brand. I expect that. I want that. And we want to evolve. So that'll be something, you'll have internal debates. We're happy to be a resource on that. The other area that we see is around single player versus multiplayer. The AI that most of us are used to is single player. We've been chatting, it's kind of quiet. We put our email in there. What do you think? What did I get wrong? Help me write it better. And I will say, we're actually seeing a little bit of friction in the industry right now of people saying, stop sending me AI. I'm sure each of you has seen this. We're like, please don't send me a long memo that wasn't really read. Give me some human. And where it's different is when you do multiplayer AI, when you're in Slack and suddenly Jack and I are chatting about the numbers, and we can quickly just say, at Adapt, what are the actual numbers? Or give us the most recent blog post results. That's a type of AI where it's impartial. It gives you the answer right there. And I think as you start to look at multiplayer AI, one of the recommendations, just make sure that you avoid sort of the glossy fast food experience that sometimes people are putting in Slack, where you get AI in Slack, but it's kind of that long-winded, glossy answer. Let's get specific things tied into our tools, tied into our data. So that's one aspect. The second aspect of multiplayer that's super important as you think about this for your own company and going all the way AI native is that it's more than just how we talk to the AI. It's about the integrations. How do we hook up tools like Stripe, Linear, GitHub, and every system that you have that has an API in a way that all of your team members can quickly query it, ask questions, build on top of it. The second part is automations. So instead of everybody building their own automation, can a VP of product build an automation that says, I want to scan our GitHub and Linear and do a product pulse into our Slack channel daily. So one automation built that impacts the entire team. And then skills. If you haven't dug into skills are incredible. A lot of focus on these skills. They're hosted repositories. This is what you're using to standardize your organization and really standardize knowledge. So for example, as we demo the apps today, we use a skill called the brand guidelines skill here at Adapt. It's just a skill we wrote. Skills are essentially text files where we give it instructions of exactly our HTML colors, our font, our brand guidelines, and then anybody in the company, if they're building an app, can say, use the brand guidelines skill, and it'll look just exactly the way we should look. And then the last part is making sure we can work wherever we work, so we can be multiplayer everywhere we go. And then the final part of this, it's about, if you think about vibe coding, I'm sure each of you, there's a little bit of skepticism on the vibe coding, where I'm sure you've walked into your office and someone on your team is like, let me show you this thing I built. And it's kind of this purple dark mode app for the most part. Some are better than others, but there is a risk of thrash and friction that comes with that. I've seen this in the interviews that I'm having, people talking about their teams that they're coming from. And we don't want that. I don't think you want to be vibe coding a new CRM, a new project management system. You don't want to be vibe coding to save some money on those tools. I think ultimately that won't be an effective use for your execs and your team. But where it's magical, where this is just completely game changing, is when you say, boy, what if we built a completely new UX layer on top of HubSpot, where I could, anything you can imagine, I want to see accounts that tie into our engagement data, or I want to build a TV metrics dashboard that vibrantly shows all the new messages. I want it to look like this and do these things. And within minutes, you have it and it becomes production ready and the entire team can use it. So our feedback is building new UX layers, new tools, new presentations on top of the stack is the massive unlock that's about to go crazy over the next year. And with that, I think we should just jump right into a demo. And Jack, I'll pass it over to you.
All right. Get this going. So if we dive into Adapt here, the key with using AI, like Jim was saying, is the multiplayer aspect and being able to connect all of your tools into one system that goes team-wide. And so we connect to all of your key integrations. We connect to your communication system, to your engineering tools, to your Google Workspace, your knowledge base, your CRM, your ticketing system, and natively. And we can also connect to any system that you have that has an API, really have the ability to any tool that you use that gives you helpful business, insightful business data, you can pull in to Adapt and query that, mix it in with the intelligence that your company is using. And so it really, from this foundation, we can really ask anything. And so let me show you one thing that I've built recently. We scroll to the top here. Our team needed a way to track account health across our sales pipeline, our product usage data. That data lives separately in HubSpot and in BigQuery, two very different systems that have been challenging in the past for me to mesh together. I wanted to understand the usage coming out of BigQuery and tie that into our sales pipeline and really understand, are the customers using the product in the way that we're trying to sell it, and how do we bridge that gap? So I started with a very simple prompt here. Pull our top accounts from HubSpot, cross-reference their actual product usage, and what are the opportunity areas that we can go after. And so Adapt started quickly and built out the plan of attack here. Pull accounts from HubSpot, cross-reference BigQuery data, find the gaps, and I also asked it to anonymize everything because these are connected to our production systems.
Appreciate that.
Yep. So started going in, search our knowledge base to understand what's available to it in these different systems, understood the schema, and then started pulling data. Here it's actually spinning up a computer to do some deep analysis, to do the things that would take me hours on end to do in Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, and mapping different customers across different systems just to get to ground zero. And this was spun up in all of 5 minutes. Cross-reference and anonymized analysis, started distributing some charts, some really just nice CSV file of different insights connected together, and then some visualizations, really putting some good context and an easy way to read through what we have available to us. It even pulled together some metrics that we haven't necessarily used to track internally, like an engagement trend distribution, or this kind of feature depth idea. And so it identified the biggest opportunity areas that we could take and run with, and we should prioritize for our team. I was curious, kind of what were these new metrics that you pulled together? What is feature depth? What is engagement trend? Why are they important to us? How can we use these? And so it built out the definition. Hey, this is how I determined feature depth. All these connections, are they using the knowledge base? Are they using secrets? And then engagement trend. How is this customer trending based on their messages? And then it really laid out why these are important. Feature depth is key for retention. Engagement trend is an early warning system. And they're really trying to tell us that what our customers are doing, and are they healthy, not healthy? How can we move forward with that? And so then it was kind of like, okay, this is good data. I can pick through this, but why not ask Adapt? How should our team use these data points and move forward? How can we ensure that if we focus on what you've highlighted, that we go out and have a great week? And so I asked for 10 high value activities that our sales team can go and run with and make it happen. And so it gave out 10 action items of, like, if you go do these 10 things, these are the highest value activities your team can do. Pretty good list. 3 direct revenue actions with a quick impact path, 4 more deep engagement items, a couple systematic fixes, and then a long shot on a customer that's kind of fallen off. And so that's great. It's super helpful to get this data, and like, this is a pretty quick process, but this is good data, good information, good for us to continue to monitor and track and be able to use consistently. And so I wanted to turn this into a reproducible asset that we can use day in and day out, and continue to build our go-to-market team around. And so I asked for Adapt as a great coworker that I get to work with. Let's build an outline. Let's really map out what this could look like if we made this into a persistent piece of custom software, really building that UX layer on top of BigQuery, on top of HubSpot, that we can consistently interact with our data this way. And so it started laying out the outline, the core concept, the architecture, pulling data from BigQuery, HubSpot, Stripe, multiple different views, a portfolio overview, an account detail, risk board, expansion board, some trends, different metrics we can track, like a health score, some automations we can build in, and then even some additional features that may not be V1, but maybe V2 or V3 in the future. And then it gave a recommendation of, do we build this? Do we try and buy this? Is this something that's available in the market? And the recommendation was build. Let's give it a shot. We have these data systems available.
One second.
Sorry about that, guys.
A little bit of a technical thing there. All good. And let's get your screen back on. And yeah, thanks for the patience. It reminds me like the COVID days. We're all virtual. We're all on these things again. But here we go. We'll get your screen shared and have some fun.
All right.
Jack is back. There we go.
I'm back.
So Jack, you might want to back up just a hair on that. Not all the way, but just for the group, just be able to see. Yeah, go back 2 slides and we'll be good to go.
Cool. So this was the account intelligence dashboard that Adapt sent a one-shot on. We see a bunch of metrics at the top, our accounts, the health score, which accounts are at risk, how many users, seat utilization, and then detail for each account, specific metrics specific to that account, their usage trends, how many users they have, the stage they're in, what feature set they have available. And we have the ability to drill through and understand far more detail for that specific customer. These are things that if I was building this in a Google Sheet or even like a Looker dashboard, this is a hard view to create. It's a hard view for an engineering team to create. And Adapt was able to do this in a series of 5 prompts. We see the different integrations that this customer has used, with their users, when they were last active, weekly message volume, and we have the ability to edit this, to add to it kind of on the fly of, oh, what would be interesting to add to this to really help us use this as a repeatable tool and something that, how can we make this better and easier to use at a single glance? And so I think it would be nice to add a spark line, this small little trend of usage over the past couple of weeks. And so,
I mean, the visual makes it so fun, right?
Yeah.
You know, see the data. Let's see what this looks like.
Totally. So I'm going to ask Adapt, add a column that is a trend line of messages over the past 8 weeks. And so you see it builds up a preview, editing the app live, and let's see how this goes. It's going to understand the code of the app, that it's responding back up, and then it's going to analyze what I'm looking for, pull the different data pieces it needs to build this from our systems, and then ideally spin up a column of a trend line to add to this inline view.
One of the things that I've just enjoyed, for all of you that are in Salesforce or HubSpot, I've spent a lot of time in those over my years. Even HubSpot, which we've been using here, we're on the most recent template and themes. It works very effectively as a back-end system. But to add these visuals that Jack's showing, the trends, the features, the usage in ways that you just can feel it in your gut before you call the customer, that is the magic that we just have never had an ability to do. And each of you today, right after this call, can do exactly this. You're just going to use natural language. You're going to connect HubSpot, which is 10 seconds, and you're going to be adding your own trend lines. Let's see what this looks like.
Okay, so we got the preview up. Adapt says the 8-week trend column portfolio table. I'm going to refresh the sandbox, and I can't scroll in the sandbox, but let's save it. And then we'll check how it looks in the app
Yeah, amazing.
once it saves.
Love the green. So I think the key is natural language. Everything is just simply talking to it. You can even use the new voice mode that we just added on Friday. So if you just want to talk to it and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out this, or could you give me a better visual of this data? Or who are the top users? Or show me a trend of their billing usage, hook to strike. All of that is just very easy for you to do in your own reports. And there's the beautiful trend line.
Spinning this back up, and you can see the trend line is right in there.
One of the key things that makes Adapt so special, and you can see it right now, is that we're giving Adapt a computer for every query. This is very different than how the AI that most of us use works. We're not stuck with just the LLM context window and MCP. This is an actual machine we're spinning up, a virtual computer. It's called a sandbox. And that means that AI can write its own code, generate its own queries. It can do anything that basically a human can do with the full access of machine. And there you go. There's some beautiful trend lines. Love that, by the way.
Yes, nice inline trend lines.
So fun.
And so this was an app that really this was a demo view. We spun this up in kind of one shot, but we use a very similar app to this, and that the idea for this was taken off of real production apps that we use. So I'm going to pull up our version of the account intelligence app that I have iterated on, that our sales team has iterated on, that Jim here has iterated on, and we have turned into an asset that is truly how our team manages our customers. They use it to monitor our pipeline in HubSpot. They use it to map that to usage coming out of BigQuery. They use it to understand customers who are paying versus not paying, and they can write back to these systems through the tool.
I mean, kudos to our first growth AE. So we were having a one-on-one. And he's like, "Oh, Jim, I just built an app over the weekend. I think he built it on Valentine's Day. So data point I should not be sharing. But he built this thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I wanted a better way to manage my accounts." And I looked at this. I was like, "This is insane. I want to use it." And so I started adding little pieces to it. And this is an example of just showing you actually how we work and how we're managing accounts.
Yes, we see the trend line. We see messages and chats over the last few days, how many users they have in the tool, how much they've billed, the credit card, if they have a credit card on file, how active they are, their stage. And then you can drill through and see very specific data to that customer, the summary of the account, all their key stakeholders, how adopted they are, different metrics to understand the key points of that customer to us, and then usage by all of their users.
And that's the data that does not exist today. Show me a CRM that does this effectively. It's very difficult. Many of us have invested a lot in this, but to get that user data in a way that you can quickly see it without clicking a lot of different tabs, it changes a call. When you're talking to a CEO and you say, "Hey, look, Nathan and David are your top users. They've had over 67, apps created in the last 30 days. That's the data I want everyone doing. You're going to have your own UX you need to build, your own magical moments. But for those that are on the call saying you're a 4 out of 10 AI native, within an hour, you're basically 8 to 9, 10 out of 10, because you're going to build the most insane new app that changes the way you connect with your customers or manage your project pipeline or do alerts on the security side. This is what it's all about. This is what we wanted to build our relationships, and the way to embed intelligence with these summaries at the top that just put it all together.
Yeah. And one other thing that we had in this app is we had our first forward deployed engineer join our forward deployed engineering team. And he wanted to understand what level of integration do these customers have. And so he quickly came in and added to this app. He built a new tab of how deployed these customers are. So for the key customers, how active are they? How many messages are they sending of the key integrations we have? How many of them do they have signed up? And then different features within the product. Are they building apps? They have scheduled tasks set up. Are they using their knowledge base to really understand how sticky they are as customers?
And so on my side, and this is the world that we're all getting into, imagine hiring your a forward deployed engineer or a new role. They start in the first week, they get into the account, they asked Adapt to onboard them. So Adapt knew everything. And then they started to design, because they had access to the systems already, they started to design exactly what they thought was best. And so when I met with them on the first, just kind of, hey, let's sync, they're walking me through this dashboard. This would have been in Google Sheets before. And we've all lived in Google Sheets. That era is over. I don't want to spend much time there. This is what it's all about. So just having the ability to use this to share it and have it across the team.
Awesome. Now we're going to go through a couple more of the apps that we're using internally. We've shown you kind of a account intelligence dashboard. One that I think is really fun is our marketing team built a blog leaderboard that shows the different blogs that each individual has posted and how they performed through our different social channels, and very, very different. I know I am very heavy on analytics and dashboards and just nitty gritty in the weeds numbers. And this is really fun. It's a really fun way to visualize how we're doing in getting our name out in the market. And it makes it competitive. I know I saw this pop up and I wanted to write a blog. Our forward deployed engineer wrote a blog seeing this. Jim has written a number of blogs and he is leading the charge on our content game.
Jack, I'm just impressed you're willing to show this with the 945. Maybe you should scroll down so that, there you go. It's good.
But yeah, just another fun way that we can use Adapt to view our data in something that is that.
And this is real. I think that, you all write blog posts and you want to share and get your team fired up. This is a simple way where it's just connected to Google Analytics, right? We gave the API and it's connected to different tools. And we said, show us how the different blogs are performing. And we want to see trends and we want to make it a leaderboard. And it just inspired our engineers to want to write more, inspired our new employees to write. I feel motivated to write. I think this is just a more visual way to do it than, once again, a Google Sheet or trying to get people into Google Analytics, which we've all tried for the last 10 years. It's a complicated UX to get the entire team in. And this is the delightful UX that's board ready. Take a screenshot, pop it in.
And then we're going to show one more here. I know I have spent a lot of time in my career rebuilding PowerPoint slides. It's one of those things you do for an MBR, or a QBR, or a board deck, and you do it month in, quarter out, month out. It's a pain, and you're typically following the same format. You're just updating a backend table in Google Sheets. You have to punch in all the different data pieces. And it takes a lot of time for something that should be very simple. And so we built out our version of a sales deck, and it's connected to our usage, again, to our usage of BigQuery, to our Stripe, to our HubSpot, to understand our customer base. And it dynamically updates based on which customer we are presenting to. And so it shows in that traditional kind of slide format that you do want to scroll through. You go in and you search for the customer you want to use. I built out a demo customer that we can talk through. And so it starts out example slide or beginning slide of here's your example customer plus Adapt. How long have they been a customer? Usage, you see this demo customer has expanded very quickly. Their current usage, all these live data points coming from BigQuery, how we can forecast to get them on the right plan, what we're building in the future, and then our recommendation. And then from there, there's a bunch of detail behind it of what their weekly usage looks like, their users in the platform, and how much individual usage each individual has, and some FAQs. And so really a way for us to build that slide view that we can use in a repeatable motion, time in and time out, that is a challenge.
Jack, what I loved about this is we were, just for the group, and you guys were all in different situations. We had a call with one of our first large enterprises. We closed them on a great multi-six-figure deal. And we put together just a way to understand the pricing, the usage. We're a fully consumption-based platform, no seats, no minimums. And so we built this, and it worked delightfully well. But Jack built it in a way where we could just connect any org. So at the end of this call, we could just type in the next company name and do the exact same thing. And that's what I mean by not having the thrash and vibe coding, where it's sort of neat but doesn't get used. The rest of the sales team jumped into other pricing calls and just pulled this up. Let me just pull up your account. Let's look at the usage. Let's use the interactive calculator. And it became a livable app. Others went in and edited it and said, yeah, I'd love to add a little bit more of an ROI or a value-based thing, or customer quotes that go through all the grain transcripts or the sales transcripts. Very easy to do, all natural language, all saved into one central place.
Awesome. So that's what we have for the demo.
So I think a couple things, and I'll let Jack kind of look at some of the questions that we'll jump into. At the high levels, you think about getting in and building things. You know, you get off the call and you're like, I want to go build something. Let me connect this to linear and build an insane new way to understand like what we shipped in the last 24 hours. Don't go build existing software. That would be my personal feedback after being in these systems for quite some time, whether it was the cursors, the adapts. Don't try to go build a lightweight version of the CRM or project management. It will end up being thrown away. 98% of them just won't ship, and you're going to have to maintain it. You've seen Jason Lumpkin on SaaS talk a lot about the maintenance cost of really building some of the software. So what I would recommend is use the brilliant investments you've already made. We have 20 plus years of great SaaS software being developed. Let's build on top of it versus trying to replicate it quickly. The second part is make sure it's connected to your data. If we're just using vibe coding tools to build really pretty looking visualizations, that typically is a bit of a thrash. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a fatigue of people always bringing an HTML version of a CSV file. It's neat. It's neat, it's new, but it's thrashy. And where it's different is when it's tied into live data, like the app actually auto updates in real time versus let me update a new CSV file, as I've seen folks show. And the last part is that it can't be siloed. So that's the world we're in right now, is most of the folks doing vibe coding are doing it on the business side in a silo. Oh, I'm using this specific tool. I'm building these things. They're awesome, but nobody can see it. It's only connected to my individual OAuth systems. I can't host it very well. And so we just wanted to make that easy, right? That's what I meant by the joy of, boy, I'm already connected to tools. Let me figure out what I want. Let me publish it. Let me get the team into it. And so what to build on top of the great systems you have. So get them set up, easy. You can do it by the end of day today. And by the way, we're offering a $300 credit for anyone that signs up right now. If you use your business domain name, all of this you can do and just do it for free. No minimums, no talking to sales, none of that. Just get in and start building. We're all builders. Second part is think about the workflows. What is the perfect way that you want to work through a situation? If there's a certain way that you want to collect feedback from your team and build unique surveys, ask Adapt to do it. Make it fun. If you want to analyze all the different calls you've had over the last 90 days and have Adapt build a brand new sales pitch deck 100% based on customer feedback, do it. You'll have it in an hour. Think about things that are net new, that are significantly better than the way you've worked versus simply cheaper. Cheaper is not going to pay off in this take. And that's it. Let's jump into a few questions of what would be helpful to be talking about.
Awesome. First one, I think this is a great question from Mariana.
Yeah.
Is the schema between HubSpot and BigQuery already pre-mapped, or is it inferring? How are you checking that it is mapping correctly and the definitions are the same across both? I love this question. I know there are two parts to it in my mind. Adapt is inferring. Adapt is going through your different systems and assuming which pieces do connect to each other based on what it has available to it. And it has done a very good job the vast majority of the time. But we also have this concept of skills, custom skills, that I think is incredibly helpful and really is the key to making sure that if you have a very specific way that you want Adapt to do this, you build out a custom skill of this is the field that is used for this. This is the field used for X, Y, and Z. And you follow these it sets guardrails for the system to follow to make sure it gets to the correct answer every time. If you have a very repeatable process that you do manually, you build out the skill and it follows it to a T, time in, time out. I know I've built a number of custom skills around metrics that I need Adapt to follow very precisely so that we are all operating on the same base. in a previous life, my team at my last company had, I want to say 18 different ARR fields in our Salesforce instance. And it would be a nightmare to someone new would join and they would just type in ARR looking for a field and they would pick one of the 18. And maybe you got the right one about 5% of the time, and the other 95% of the time you got the wrong one. And so having the skill to follow the exact path, the happy path, is really the way that you can make Adapt so incredibly powerful across your different systems.
Yeah, I was going to add that even just one of the key things of these centralized systems is a centralized knowledge base. So even if you're in like RevOps and you say there's a certain way that we've mapped data in our Salesforce, we use the company versus account field or et cetera, you just tell the knowledge base, just remember Adapt that, we use this field, and then it's forever known. Anybody in your system, any user would have that data as well. And that's more of the lightweight way. And then skills is like a really brilliant way to have a repeatable task always be followed exactly that way. Cool.
Awesome. Jim, I'm going to pass this one to you. Is home office a challenge for AI SaaS nowadays?
It's interesting. There's a lot of focus. We're here in San Francisco in the Presidio, right by the Golden Gate Bridge. There's a lot of focus on AI companies, AI native companies being in person, and there's a speed of AI that I know we can all feel. It's crazy out there right now. So is home office a challenge for AI? I think the challenge that I've seen as I talk to people is that since AI has been so siloed, you're just kind of chatting to yourself and you're whispering and getting the feedback, but the intelligence is locked and you don't even know what intelligence everyone's getting. And sometimes you'll see a little bit of their AI slop, and I think we're all getting a little just worn out. We want to feel the connection to our remote teammates. And in those cases, if you don't have AI in Slack, that is an absolute act on that this week. The AI in Slack, and that, Adapt, that's a big part of us. We're a natively integrated AI in Slack. So that is clearly a great option for this, but everybody should have a brilliant AI in Slack. And I don't mean like an AI bot. I don't mean just like having summarization of external knowledge. I mean the actual authority of your company, a piece of AI that would know the business better than the CEO, better than anybody, that is non-judgmental. So that if you want to put an image of a dashboard into Slack, like your Teams channel, and say, add AI, in our case it'd be add Adapt, share your insights on it. Boy, I mean, I've done this. It'll be very honest. It doesn't hold back. There's no executive politicking. It'll just say it as it is. And that is what is so special about this. To make sure that having a systems-based AI in Slack, that's something that is a massive unlock. And from a home office standpoint, it means that you could literally have a channel of just another human AI and yourself. And I do this with my CMO quite often. We'll be reading about something external, and then we'll quickly say, at Adapt, can you just turn that into a quick a blog post we could do? Or could you share your insights on this and how this could impact our pricing? And those things we're shipping all the time. Cool. I'm just seeing the notes. One of their favorite use cases of Adapt is multiplayer. I completely agree. If you were to turn off the AI, to turn off Adapt in our Slack, I think it'd be the equivalent of losing Wi-Fi. You'd still have your laptop without Wi-Fi, so you can do some stuff, but we would all feel so disconnected. To lose that intelligence layer, that authority, the accuracy, it's like a world I would never want to go back to. And I just so want all of you to be using insanely great, the best AI you can find in your Slack. Okay, next question.
Next one. How do you keep everything up to date? What do you do when something breaks? So this does happen from time to time. Our team is moving quickly, and there are new data sources, new tables, deprecation of old tables, replication of tables that happen all the time. And those data sources you have to keep an eye on and follow quickly. But really the beauty of working with Adapt is you have a data engineer at your fingertips at all times. I know we recently created a new billing table that directly impacted 90% of the different apps that I've built. And so I was able to work with Adapt, and I first updated our custom skill that focused on billing and usage to map to the new table to follow a new process. And then that was set for everyone to use in the future. And then updating the apps that we had in existence was going through and asking Adapt, does this impact this application? I see something broke here, and really troubleshooting with Adapt as your counterpart, your coworker, kind of side by side with you, problem solving and ensuring that you have the most up-to-date systems, up-to-date data sources, up-to-date pieces flowing through the work that you're doing.
I was going to add, we launched our GA building. So we all launched self-service building, which is a big deal. It just makes it so anybody, even today, can jump in and start using this in the fastest way possible. But one of the dashboards I use our old billing. And so, and I didn't talk to Jack about this. So I just went to Adapt and said, hey, something changed on billing. Can you look at GitHub and what we've pushed? And it has access to all Slack messages we've done, and just figure out what did and fix it. That's all I wrote. And it did. I mean, 2 minutes later, it's like, oh yeah, we have a new billing table. It's this, it's that. I've updated it, done. And so I think for your business users and just users that are maybe outside of that core piece, that's kind of what it's about, which is, look, you have the full context of everything. Figure out what happened, fix it, and move on. And that's typically what's happening once you've connected everything together.
Awesome. And kind of on that same topic, question from Het, can Adapt analyze code from repositories or fix bugs for me? I think that goes hand in hand with what you're just saying, Jim. Short answer is yes. Connected to GitHub, connected to Linear, can create Linear tickets, can write code, can push code. We have, I see our adapt.com bot pushing or merging PRs into our code base every once in a while for small fixes. Don't get me wrong, but very, very cool to see that happening in real time and really going deep on what we've pushed in the past and how it impacts what you're seeing in production.
Yeah, even just building automations. Hey, Adapt, I'd love you to go and analyze our repositories, look for any vulnerabilities, let us know, share it with us. I mean, always on engineer that can do that. That's the kind of magic. Adapt wrote a lot of our early code. It was our second most productive behind our CTO co-founder, but just a great asset in terms of knowing our system and building these features out.
Awesome.
Cool. Maybe last question here.
Cool. How do you think about security and long-term maintainability when teams start building AI-generated tools without engineering oversight? Great question. I think that from a security perspective, this is really that multiplayer AI that you see taking place, where you do have governance over the data that is getting pulled into the system. Unlike in the single player, I know my own experience with single player AI was I was dropping a CSV or an Excel file into a chat interface, and that's probably not the perfect way to go about working with AI tools. And so having the systems that your company wants you to be using all set up and integrated in a way that everyone on the team is happy with, everyone knows is happening, and being able to audit that and understand what's coming in, what's going out, really is a super high priority around security.
I think org level, it's so important. I mean, a lot of AI before this has been personal. People are kind of whispering to their personal accounts. I'm sure some of you in the call, like, oh yeah, I do have a COD or an OpenAI account. That's a lot of leakage. And I think that what you're seeing is just an absolute focus on that org level AI, org level integrations, org level skills. And then it's just it's owned, just like all the great SaaS we've had that is perfectly managed that way. It's important having the audit logs, the ability to partition people in and out. All of that is what's needed, especially as we give them incredible superpowers to go build.
Awesome. And then I'm going to highlight this last one. Thanks for the question, Het. What does pricing look like? As another call out that we did just go GA on Friday. The platform is open for everyone to use. If you use your business domain, you get $300 of free credits. And we are on a subscription-based model where it is usage. And so you pay for the value you get out of the system. If you are using it heavily, then that's amazing. And if you're not using it as heavily, then that's also amazing. And you get what you pay for what you are using.
That's right. Subscriptions start at $100, a lot of free credits. And one thing that I would love you to push on if you get into Adapt today is we focus on having the single best answers. The ability to spin up that sandbox computer and precisely surgically pull in context across the business like a data engineer has enabled us to get feedback from our customers that says, we don't know how you do it. And so anyways, I'll let you have to experience that for yourself. I hope you get into that. Ping me, jimandadapt.com if you need anything on that. But we're just pumped to get everybody AI native. And hopefully this will inspire you to go build, to go ask deeper questions, to connect your tools, whether with Adapt or any AI out there. But this is where the world's going. And we just want to help everyone get there. And I will say this, there's a lot of scary stuff on AI. I think I saw a comment that AI is less favorable than a lot of things that are not favorable in the world right now. Leave it at that. When you actually get into this stuff and focus on building, I've just never had so much fun. I come in the office, I turn this TV app on. It is so much fun to collaborate with your team with raw intelligence to build anything you can imagine, and then better to accelerate these outcomes. So get in, build it, show us what you built. Let us know we can help. We are here. We really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you all.